The male characters in this anime are very special. Someone can modify his wrists into 2 long blades, which can split the entire stadium in half as long as he gets furious. Someone can imitate all martial arts when he gets sick. Someone even has a spontaneous combustion body and can turn his body into flames. More surprisingly, these people are all inmates, and they come to the prison to take revenge on the prison guards. During the process, they meet a cute lowly, a beautiful robot with a hot body, and a female prison warden who likes to tease men. Facing so many beauties, will they complete their revenge? Like this video, and let's reveal the answer. The anime begins in a prison called Nanbaka Prison on an isolated island, having the most advanced anti-escape mechanism and top prison guards. It is known as the world's most formidable prison. One day, 4 inmates from cell 13 of the building 13 escape from the cell. They are Uno, inmate number 11, Nico, inmate number 25, Rock, inmate number 69, and Jingo, inmate number 15. As professional prison breakers, they keep escaping from prisons around the world with a 100% success rate. But soon, Hajime, the building 13 supervising officer, discovers them. He immediately orders the closure of all areas and activates the anti-escape mechanism. Unexpectedly, for the 4 professional prison breakers, it is very easy to remove the mechanisms. Jugo is a lockpicker who is skilled at picking any type of mechanical and electronic locks, such as iron door locks, coded locks, infrared devices, and so on. Uno has great intuition and mobility, and even a maze can't trap him. Rock is very good at fighting and acts as the hatchet man in the team. The most outrageous of them is Nico. Drugs have an unusual effect on him, and rather than incapacitate him, they have alternate side effects. When the guards use anesthesia guns on him, he immediately becomes an adorable person. Even the fiercest police dog can get along well with him. After breaking through many difficulties, they come to the last gate of the prison. Unexpectedly, Hajime is waiting for them there, who has unimaginable super strange powers, and is invincible in hand-to-hand combat. After Rock and Uno are defeated, Nico faints in fright, and Jugo is knocked out with a blow. Having captured them almost once a day, Hajime feels very tired. He urges them to stop escaping, but none of them cares about his words. In fact, there is not only delicious food in the prison, but also Wi-Fi signal. They enjoy life here very much, and do not intend to actually escape. More surprisingly, in contrast to their fierce appearances, they have a very simple character. Each time they see the news of a murder case, they will consider it very cruel, and afraid that the murderer will be put in the prison where they are. One day, Jugo is recaptured after a failed escape, but the experience this time is worthy of his efforts since he met a beautiful woman in the reception room. Others don't want to miss the opportunity to meet the beauty and ask Jugo to lead the way. Interestingly, Hajime is meeting the beauty. Seeing the 4 are captivated by the beauty, Hajime reminds them that the beauty is his younger brother, not a girl. Just then, the prison warden, Momoko, suddenly offers to meet Hajime. Having a crush on Hajime, she feels very shy hearing Hajime calling her name. She meets Hajime to know if something had happened in the prison during her business trip. Getting a negative answer, Momoko feels very confused. Since the 4 in cell 13 have always tried escaping from the prison, she is very surprised to know they do nothing these days. To better explain the situation, Hajime promises to bring more information to her next time. The next day, Hajime finds Jugo has escaped again during the roll call. This time, he catches Jugo in the duty room. It turns out that Jugo escaped for a good sleep. His roommates will talk in their dreams and grind their teeth, which makes he can't sleep at night. The prison life of the 4 in cell 13 is very happy. Even the daily work of the labor camp is considered recreational activities by them. Jugo and Rock are in charge of assembling the wardrobes, while the other 2 are responsible for the wood carving. Hajime thinks they will be up to the task. Unexpectedly, they have a lot of fun through the work since they are carving wooden dolls and remodeling wardrobes instead of finishing the task as required. Soon after, it is time for reporting work. This time, Hajime comes to Momoko with the information. Nico is an American who was arrested for selling illegal drugs. After a physical examination, he was found to be allergic to food and has suffered from an unknown disease. The only reason for him to escape from previous prisons is that the medicine there is too unpalatable. But the medicine at Nanbaka prison suits his taste perfectly, so he quits the idea of escaping now. Rock was arrested for robbing and causing a riot in the street. He is a foodie, and the reason for his escape is that the meals in previous prisons are too unpalatable. But he is very satisfied with the food in Nanbaka prison and does not plan to escape for the time being. Uno was arrested for participating in underground gambling. Women and gambling are his hobbies. He escaped from previous prisons for dating beautiful women, but he doesn't have a date right now, so there is no need for him to escape. Jugo was arrested for theft, and he just escaped previous prisons for fun. Among them, Hajime is particularly watchful of Jugo since he has always suspected that Jugo's reason for escaping is fake. In fact, Hajime's skepticism is very necessary. Jugo keeps escaping from prisons to find someone. When he was in another prison, someone put black shackles on his neck and wrists while he was asleep. Since these shackles have no chains, Jugo can do nothing with them. At that time, he saw the man's back and found the man was a guard with a scar on his neck. As a result, he has kept escaping from prisons and searched for the man in prisons all over the world. Eventually, he was sent to Nanbaka prison. In the following episode, Sitaro, a prison guard, is humiliated by the four in cell 13. He is so angry that he complains to Hajime about their bad behaviors. To some help, Hajime tells him their weaknesses. Uno is very womanizing and he will immediately calm down as long as giving him a women's magazine. Rock is a foodie and will be easily attracted by the cafeteria menu. Nico is an ACGN fan. Just show him an anime. The last one, Jugo, is also easy to deal with. If the other three are controlled, Jugo will no longer have the will for escaping. Unexpectedly, following Hajime's instructions, Sitaro has become the errand boy of the four. Soon after, a new inmate arrives. He is a ninja, inmate number 99. His reason for being arrested is ridiculous. When he returned to his hometown, he was arrested on charges of trespassing. Hearing that Jugo is the strongest prison breaker here, the ninja immediately asks for a fight to see who is the stronger. At night, the competition begins. At first, the ninja has been following Jugo. After being discovered, he explains that he is a ninja so he should follow Jugo like a shadow. Soon, they come to an iron gate. It only takes Jugo a second to unlock the door. Even when encountering an infrared device, Jugo can quickly make it out of order. Noticing that the ninja has done nothing, Jugo becomes suspicious of his strength. Just then, Hajime suddenly appears in front of them. Believing that defeating Hajime will help him win the competition, the ninja immediately uses ninjutsu to attack Hajime. However, he is so weak that he is no match for Hajime. There is no doubt that the ninja is just an idiot who knows nothing. Every year, the Nanbaka prison will hold the New Year Joint Cooperation Tournament, where inmates and officers from each building are formed into competing teams across 5 events. The winning guard will get a stipend, and the inmate will get something he wanted. The representatives selected by Building 13 are the 4 in Cell 13. Before the game starts, the competitive atmosphere between the buildings is already very strong. The first event is called Kakizome. It is a Japanese term for the first calligraphy written at the beginning of a year. The 4 in Cell 13 display terrible penmanship in calligraphy, yet Hajime and Deputy Supervisor Yamato both present winning scripts. They win the prize by an absolute margin. The second event is called Machi Pounding Daruma Drop. Each building sends 2 people, and whoever successfully makes the Machi will be the winner. However, if the Daruma under the Machi drops, the team drops the Daruma will be the loser. Since it is a competition related to strength, Yamato, who loves fitness, volunteers to join in the event. In addition to him, Rock is also a participant in this event. They decide to divide the work. One is responsible for making the Machi while the other defending. Their opponent is Building 5. Ryan is Rock's former roommate and used to be humiliated by Rock. Later, Ryan works very hard to improve his strength to defeat Rock. Additionally, Ryan has been longing for having an exclusive martial arts training room. As a result, he is desperate to defeat Rock and win the prize. Unfortunately, he is no match for Rock and is quickly defeated. Influenced by the competitive atmosphere, Yamato also fights with the prison guards representing Building 5. In the end, Rock and Yamato win with outrageous strengths. The third event is Hyakunin Issue. The rule of the game is to follow the host's prompt and pick the corresponding card as soon as possible. Hajime asks Sitaro and Uno to attend. Their opponent is Building 3, led by their supervising officer, Mitsuba. Knowing that Uno is skilled at gambling, Mitsuba is particularly watchful of him, preventing him from playing tricks. Just when Mitsuba thinks they are about to win, Uno's expression in his eyes suddenly changes. Being percipient, after some time of observation, Uno immediately adjusts strategies according to the habits of Building 3 and wins the prize. The fourth event is called Top Spinning. Participants from each team have to destroy the other team's top or push it out of the stage. The participants of Building 13 are Hajime and Nico. Their opponent is Building 5. In addition to Hajime's longtime adversary, Goku, there is also a powerful Qigong master, Yupa. As soon as the event starts, Goku gathers his teammates to bring Hajime down, but Nico helps Hajime block their attack. Yupa immediately changes his target to Nico. Unexpectedly, Nico adores him very much and even offers to learn Qigong from him. Meanwhile, Hajime is fighting against Goku. Noticing that Goku is in danger, Yupa immediately uses Qigong to block Hajime's attack. Attracted by this, Nico offers to learn the skill but gets rejected. However, during the fight, Yupa discovers that Nico can imitate the movements in martial arts perfectly as long as he sees it. In the end, Yupa has to perform his unique skill. Unexpectedly, Nico's strength is stronger than him. Through imitating Yupa's Qigong, Nico knocks them down. As a result, Building 13 wins 4 consecutive events and successfully comes to the final event. Their opponent in this event is Building 4, led by their supervising officer, Kenshiro, who lost to Hajime last year and only finished runner-up. Additionally, Kenshiro has a crush on Momoko, but Momoko only develops feelings for Hajime. Extremely dissatisfied with Hajime, Kenshiro vows to defeat him this time. Kenshiro's partner is the inmate, Musashi, who used to be Jugo's roommate and had a bad relationship with him. Jugo even blinds him. As soon as the event starts, Kenshiro stops Hajime with a long whip. Unexpectedly, Hajime's weapon is a submachine gun, and the two immediately start a fierce battle. Captivated by Hajime's handsome posture, Momoko's heart pounds fiercely. Unlike their hilarious love polygon, the fight between Jugo and Musashi is fierce. Musashi directly holds Jugo's head and knocks him against the wall. However, after hearing Musashi bringing up the man who put the shackles on him, Jugo boils with rage and is desperate to know the information about the man. Musashi has been reluctant to tell the truth. He summons flames from his hands and hits Jugo into the wall again. Just then, an explosion happens. Jugo comes out of the billowing smoke. He looks extremely crazy with his wrists turning into 2 long blades. Seeing Musashi's magical flame and Jugo's crazy appearance, the inmates watching the battle are so frightened that they immediately flee the battlefield. Hajime and Kenshiro try to get close to them but are forced back by Musashi's wall of flames. The other members of Cell 13 hide in a corner and can't help worrying about Jugo. Just then, Mitsuba and Goku arrive and arrest Musashi along with Kenshiro, but Jugo keeps resisting, fearing that he will be severely punished. Members of Cell 13 rush into the battlefield and try to stop him, but Jugo has lost control. He ignores members' words and throws them out. At this time, the only one who can defeat him is Hajime, who stops Jugo and beat him up. In the end, Building 13 wins the New Year's event, while Jugo is locked up in a solitary cell. Hajime is also suspended for 3 days as punishment for going overboard. During the 3 days, Momoko orders Kenshiro, Mitsuba, and Goku to take over Hajime's job by turns. The first to take office is Kenshiro. According to the schedule, he brings Nico to the infirmary while Uno and Rock tag along. They urge Nico to take his medicine. Nico's special physique makes it easy for him to imitate other people's martial arts skills. However, this ability also brings a burden to his body, and even risks his life. Just then, the beautiful robot in the infirmary suddenly appears in front of them. Members of Cell 13 get very excited and immediately rush to the beautiful robot. Some want to invite her on dates, some want to have intimate interactions with her, and some even want to know the color of her intimate clothes. Seeing this, Kenshiro feels disgusted. The next day, it is Mitsuba's turn. Mitsuba is a face judger who thinks the other 3 members of Cell 13 are very ugly and gets angry each time he sees them. Hearing this, Uno argues that Mitsuba is also ugly and has no right to judge them. Just as they are arguing over their appearance, Sitaro walks in. Since Sitaro is too handsome, they reach a consensus that they don't want to appear with him at the same time. The last to take office is Goku. Although Hajime reports that everything goes well in Cell 13, Goku refuses to believe it and wants to test the members. Just then, Uno, Rock, and Nico are hiding from Yamato because they do not want to participate in his special training. Unfortunately, Goku discovers them as soon as he takes office. Despite the trio's begging, he refuses to help keep it a secret. With the help of Goku, Rock and Uno are captured by Yamato. Considering Nico's outstanding imitation ability, Goku dares not to capture him directly, thinking that they should suffer together as a team. Uno reveals that Nico has taken medicine and cannot use his abilities. Hearing this, Goku breathes a sigh of relief and immediately reports the truth to Yamato. As a result, the trio is forced to undergo cruel training arranged by Yamato. After Hajime finishes his punishment, Kenshiro offers to join him in investigating the truth about Jugo and Musashi's special abilities. They go to the cell where the two are being held separately and set up an intercom through walkie-talkies for the two to communicate. Musashi is the first to tell his story. It turns out that he has had the constitution of spontaneous combustion since childhood, which makes him feel very self-abased. One day, he met the mysterious man with a scar on his back. Hearing that the man could heal his disease, he was very touched and fully cooperated. Unfortunately, this is just a conspiracy of the man. Instead of treating disease, the man conducted human experiments on Musashi, transforming him into a monster that can set fire. Musashi wants revenge on the man, but the man has the same special ability as Jugo, which can slash his flames with a long blade. Later, Musashi discovers that the key to turning both wrists into long blades was the shackles. Therefore, he wants to snatch Jugo's shackles and take revenge on the mysterious man. However, Jugo's idea is completely different from Musashi's. Although he is also a victim, influenced by the growing environment, he now desires nothing. Even if he was transformed by someone, all he wanted to do was find the mysterious man and unlock the shackles on his body. Hearing this, Hajime is surprised to know Jugo is such a simple person. In Hajime's view, Jugo wants to unlock the shackles only because he wants to make himself look more aspiring. He wants Jugo to think over what he wants. Hajime's words remind Jugo of his friends in Cell 13. He used to live a very boring life, and it is when he meets the trio that his life becomes colorful. So his wish is to return to Cell 13 and be with his friends. Hajime is satisfied with his answer, since the winner of the New Year's event can fulfill a wish. Hajime helps Jugo return to Cell 13. After returning to the cell, Jugo apologizes to his friends, vowing that he would cherish them in the future and would never attack them again. The trio forgives Jugo and they resume their old friendship. In the next scene, Rock gets his New Year prize, a stone oven. To repair his relationship with Ryan, Rock offers to treat him to a pizza. Knowing that Rock is a foodie, Ryan is very dismissive of him. Unexpectedly, after tasting the pizza, he is conquered by the delicacy. Just then, the head chef serves Ryan a special dish, a peach bun. It turns out that Rock considers Ryan Chinese, so he especially asks the head chef to prepare the dish. The nostalgic taste touches Ryan a lot since he just ate insipid food for exercising before and had never enjoyed eating. He expresses his gratitude to Rock and apologizes to him for his previous mistakes. It's worth mentioning that Rock wasn't a foodie initially. When incarcerated in America, he was often put in solitary confinement and was not allowed to eat. When he was starving, Jugo gave him a loaf of bread, but Rock thought the bread tasted terrible, so Jugo directly unlocked his cell and invited him to eat out. Since then, Rock has become a foodie. Meanwhile, Nico is having a medical examination in the infirmary. After eating, Rock and other members of Cell 13 go to the infirmary to accompany him. Unexpectedly, the doctor in charge of the examination has just quarreled with his wife and is in a very bad mood. Just then, the doctor's wife, Kazari, explodes the wall of the infirmary with a weapon and appears. The quarrel begins again as soon as the couple meets, and they even want to divorce. Fortunately, the beautiful robot adjusts to the conflict between them and helps them reconcile. After then, Nico receives his prize at the New Year's event. Kazari gives him the latest video game console and brings him to the newly built arcade. Nico is so excited that he immediately invites his friends to play the game together. Jugo has never played the game and dares not join in. Noticing this, Mitsuru encourages him to try things he has never done. In the end, Jugo plucks up the courage to try the claw crane. Since Jugo always fails, Nico helps him catch a doll. Perhaps in Jugo's opinion, games are a bit boring, but Nico thinks games are the funniest thing in the world. If he can grow freely, he will have the same life as the protagonist of the game. This is what Jugo taught him. Once he was forcibly tied to the bed by prison guards because of his special constitution. It was Jugo who helped him unlock his chains and set him free. During the game, Uno stumbles upon Musashi and Kenshiro passing by. Worried that Musashi would attack Jugo again, he hurriedly stands in front of Jugo. Unexpectedly, Musashi has no intention to hurt Jugo but apologizes to him. Uno immediately relaxes and invites Musashi to the arcade. But Musashi is a felon and is not allowed to move freely. Kenshiro then tells him that if he speaks out about his past experience, he will be allowed to the arcade. Hearing this, Musashi plucks up the courage to tell the truth. It turns out that his body temperature was higher than ordinary people's since birth. At first, he didn't take it as a problem, until one day, the burning sensation that spread from the depths of his throat made him convulse with pain. He went to the hospital for a checkup but found nothing. When he gradually forgot the pain, his body suddenly spontaneously combusted. Although he barely saved a life, the disease cannot be cured, and may even recrudesce in the future. Although feeling desperate, he didn't want to worry about his loving parents, so he decided to cheer up. Unfortunately, when he returned to school, a male classmate spread rumors that he was an arsonist, causing him to be isolated from his classmates. Although feeling very sad, he still dared to live as long as his parents were there. However, a fire killed his parents. He was arrested and detained by the police as the suspect. Later, he was seduced by the mysterious man and participated in human experiments in prison. Only then did he learn that the mysterious man had arranged all the accidents he had encountered to gain his special abilities. Because the mysterious man cannot conduct human experiments on ordinary people, he can only turn Musashi into a criminal. Kenshiro used to hear about inmates being used for human experiments. He investigates the matter when he was a police officer in the police department, but no matter how many reports he submitted, all the leaders chose to ignore them, speculating that the police department wanted to hide the matter. He changed his job to prison guard to continue his investigation. He believes that no crime should be spared. Even if the subject of the experiment is an inmate, the human experiment is illegal. In the following episode, one of the mysterious man's subordinates suddenly attacks Jugo. It turns out that he was one of the researchers who participated in Jugo's human experiments. Unexpectedly, the research institution was destroyed, and Jugo escaped from it. In addition to finding Jugo, the researcher comes to Nanbaka prison for new experimental subjects. He is very interested in Jugo's friends in cell 13. Hearing this, Jugo is boiling with rage. Just when he wants to fight back, the researcher flees. Jugo is desperate. He fears that his cherished friends will be transformed into monsters like him. Thinking that the mysterious man's subordinates will follow him leave the prison and change the target, Jugo decides to leave the Nanbaka prison to protect his friends. Unexpectedly, his friends see through his plan and escape with him. They soon arrive at the last gate. As the iron gate opens, Hajime appears. Jugo is very familiar with the scene, but this time he really wants to leave. He locks his friends inside the gate and fights with Hajime alone. Worried about Jugo, his friend stops Sitaro, who is passing by, and asks him to open the gate. To stop Jugo from escaping, Uno and Rock stop him and Hajime respectively. Nico takes the opportunity to knock out Jugo, pinning him to the ground. They have no idea why Jugo wants to leave and ask him to stay at Nanbaka prison. In the end, the four return to the cell, but their escaping from prison won't stop there. As usual, inmates in Nanbaka prison keep trying to escape. One day, Jugo, an inmate from Building 13, escapes from his cell. When Hajime, the supervising officer of Building 13, finds him, he is sleeping on a couch. Feeling furious, Hajime punishes him severely. Meanwhile, the prison warden, Momoko, is waiting for Hajime to do the daily report in her office. Having a crush on Hajime, she is immersed in thinking about the tone to talk with him. Unexpectedly, Mitsuru, the chief broadcaster, suddenly comes in with a photo of Hajime on his face. Mitsuru is one of the few who knows Momoko's feelings for Hajime. He often takes advantage of this and plays a trick on her, but always ends up being beaten up. Just as Momoko is teaching Mitsuru a lesson, Hajime walks in. Startled by the scene, he immediately runs away. After then, a new group of prison guards arrives at the prison. Learning of this, Mitsuru relays the news to Hajime. Hajime is very surprised since no one has told him about the news before. What is even more surprising is that the new prison guard in Building 13 turns out to be his younger brother, Hitoshi. Hajime doesn't want Hitoshi to work in prison, but Hitoshi refuses to leave. Just as the brothers are arguing, Jugo suddenly comes to them and asks if they are full brothers. In addition to Jugo, Uno and Rock share the same doubts since Hajime and Hitoshi do not share a similar appearance and have different personalities, just like gorillas and rabbits. Hajime is very dissatisfied with their comments and orders Yamato to send them back to the cell immediately. To stall for time, Uno and Rock offer to play hide and seek. If they are caught, they will admit Hajime and Hitoshi are full brothers. Hitoshi agrees to their proposal. Unfortunately, Hitoshi's physical strength is so poor that he quickly falls behind them. Hajime is very dissatisfied with him, believing that Hitoshi is not suitable to be a prison guard. He urges Hitoshi to leave the prison as soon as possible. Then he catches up with Uno and Rock with his outstanding physical strength. To escape, Uno presses the button on the wall, which is connected to the newly developed liquid nitrogen trap. Immediately, Hajime is frozen into an ice sculpture. However, Hajime soon smashes all the ice on his body with his outrageous strength. Just as Uno and Rock are about to escape, Hitoshi suddenly flies over and hits the wall. It turns out that Hitoshi has the same strong body as Hajime. To catch Uno and Rock, Hajime uses Hitoshi's body as a weapon and chases after them wildly. Just then, Mitsuru stops Hajime and the hide-and-seek is forced to stop. It turns out that Hitoshi is arranged to work in Building 4. Since he wants to work with Hajime, he asks Mitsuru to let him work temporarily for a day in Building 13. Now that the day's work is over, Mitsuru comes to send him back. After Hitoshi leaves, Hajime grabs Uno and Rock and gives each of them one punch. In the next scene, Rock comes to Building 5. Hearing that the prison guard here, Goku, is powerful but always loses to Hajime, Rock wants to compete with him. Goku is very confident and claims that he only needs one finger to bring down Rock. Hearing this, Rock immediately attacks him. As Goku claimed, no matter what movements Rock performs, Goku can easily dodge him and eventually knocks him down with just one finger. After the competition, the deputy supervisor of Building 5, Hake, tells Goku that a new prison guard named Sanzo has arrived at their building, who wears a cassock and holds a magic staff as if he is the real Triptaka. If there comes a Sandy one day, they can gather together the four main characters and journey to the west. Soon after, Momoko holds a meeting with the supervising officers. She is going to attend an emergency meeting with the commissioner at the police department's headquarters concerning information about Musashi. In her absence, all the affairs are left to the supervising officers. After the meeting, Momoko leaves with a doll version of Hajime, and officers continue discussing the emergency meeting at the headquarters. Mo, the deputy supervisor of Building 8, believes that the headquarters does not trust them because of an incident that happened in Building 5. At that time, the supervising officer of Building 5 was Goku's elder brother, Enki, to everyone's surprise. One day, Enki killed the inmates in his building and attacked the senior guards who want to arrest him. However, as Enki's younger brother, Goku didn't affect by the incident and even took over his brother's job. Mal claims that the incident would leave the headquarters with a bad impression of them. In addition, with family ties, Goku may also betray the prison in the future as Enki. Hearing this, Goku and Mal get into an argument, but Goku can't prove that he won't do the same thing as his brother and has to leave sadly. Seeing this, Mitsuba accuses Mal of being impertinent. Boiling with rage, he slaps Mal after Goku leaves. Later, two strange things happen in Building 13. The first thing is Yamato suddenly launches an attack on Hajime. Being much stronger than Yamato, Hajime directly knocks him away. While dressing the wound, Hajime notices a command talisman used by Building 5 attached to Yamato's nape. The second strange thing happens on Rock. As soon as Rock returns to his cell, he beats Jugo up, having been secretly watching Rock. The ninja immediately intervenes to save Jugo. It turns out that the ninja notices Rock appear to be stone-faced after returning from Building 5. Feeling that something goes wrong, he has been following Rock these days. Unfortunately, he never knows what Rock had been going through. Just then, Uno notices that Rock is about to attack the ninja and finds a similar command talisman in Rock's nape. Finding the reason for Rock's transformation, the ninja and Jugo cooperate to remove the talisman behind him. The ninja recognizes the talisman as something unique to Building 5 and is generally used to suppress inmates like Yupa who are good at Qigong so that they can control their strength, but they never expect that the talisman will have the effect of controlling minds. Since Rock is injured, Uno intends to investigate the situation in Building 5 with Jugo and Nico. Learning of their idea, Hajime joins them and takes them to Building 5. Strangely, there is no guard in Building 5, but the gate suddenly opens to them. Once there, Hajime is getting trapped in an iron cage. Just as the trio laughs at him, they fall into a trapdoor. At this time, Hakai appears and greets Hajime. He restrains Hajime in special handcuffs and put him on the 5th floor of the underground cell. Here Hajime meets Goku and learns the whole situation. It turns out that Goku had noticed the stolen talismans before. As he wanted to investigate, his subordinates suddenly told him that Enki escaped with 2 inmates. Goku felt very regretful since he cared about their relationship and couldn't bear to arrest Enki for his betrayal before. It was Hajime who helped arrest Enki. Because of his meritorious efforts in arresting the felon, Hajime was promoted to supervising officer. Although Goku didn't make any help, he was arranged to take over his brother's job. Now that Enki has escaped from prison again, Goku wanted to arrest his brother and prove that he is as excellent as Hajime. Unfortunately, he is defeated by Enki. Thinking that Goku is too weak, Hakai recognizes Enki as his boss. To help Enki escape, he destroys the prison's communication system. Meanwhile, the trio is placed on the 1st floor of the underground cell and meets Yupa and Ryan there. Yupa reminds them to keep silent or they will be beheaded by surveillance dolls. After the dolls leave, Ryan tells them that Enki is the backstage manipulator who used inmates as a sparring partner before he came to Nanbaka prison. After arriving here, he became even more cruel and directly killed his inmates. Hearing this, Uno is very scared and urges others to flee. Since Jugo is skilled at picking locks, he easily opens the cell. After escaping from the cell, Jugo finds a nameplate of Hajime in the hallway. Knowing that Hajime is also getting trapped in the underground cell, Uno proposes to save him to increase the team's combat effectiveness. While searching for Hajime, they come across Hani and Troa, who are imprisoned in Building 3 but come to Building 5 for exercising. Unexpectedly, as soon as the two entered the gate, they fell into the trapdoor and were locked up in the underground cell. As a result, they had to keep calling for help. Eventually, the trios take Hani and Troa and set off again. The underground cell is full of dangers. There are groups of surveillance dolls chasing them and a number of dangerous traps threatening their lives. Fortunately, they find a hidden management office. Coincidentally, Jugo stumbles upon confidential human experimentation records of himself in the office. After a short break, they leave the office and soon find the gate to the next floor. Just then, a guard in Building 5, Rokuriki, attacks them because of the control of the talisman. Ryan doesn't want to hurt Rokuriki and gets injured while eluding the attack. In contrast to him, Yupa directly kicks Rokuriki away. Later, Jugo opens the gate to the next floor. Just as they are about to leave, Yupa and Ryan offer to stay behind to deal with the guards under control. They close the gate, use Qigong to destroy the wall, and block the only gate. Unfortunately, Rokuriki, who has just been knocked down, stands up again accompanied by a robust pig-headed man named Hachiman, who used to be the crime boss of the mafia where Yupa and Ryan once belonged to. It turns out that Enki promised to help Hachiman escape from prison. In exchange, Hachiman needs to patrol the underground cell and kills all suspicious intruders. Rokuriki is the first to attack, but Ryan shows no mercy this time and quickly defeats him. Hachiman thinks Ryan and Yupa are ridiculous since the two are all inmates but want to act as messengers of justice. Feeling very dissatisfied with Hachiman, Yupa begins attacking him. To Yupa's surprise, Nico suddenly appears and hugs him. Admiring Yupa so much, Nico stays to fight with him. Hachiman is tired of seeing them living in harmony. He seizes the opportunity and smashes at them with a hammer. Thankfully, Ryan saves them in time, because Nico doesn't take the medicine, fearing that the movements will easily harm his body. Yupa hides him behind the wall. To gain the upper hand in battle, Hachiman throws a gas bomb that temporarily paralyzes their bodies. Yupa is very surprised to see Hachiman have a gas bomb. Hachiman replies that it is invented by their good friend, Chi. As his former subordinate, Chi is loyal. Whatever order he gives, Chi will execute it perfectly. Chi is an excellent pharmacist, but he also has weaknesses, which are Yupa, Ryan, and his principal as a pharmacist. Coming from a Qigong family, Yupa had a very powerful strength, but later he was abducted by Hachiman, who removed his organs for sale and forced him to work for the organization. Luckily, Yupa met Chi and Ryan in the organization. Chi was distressed by Yupa's experience and donated his organs to Yupa. One day, Hachiman wanted to execute Ryan because he only stunned the target on the mission instead of killing him. Seeing Ryan suffering great pain, Chi's hatred for Hachiman deepened. After then, when Hachiman ordered Chi to develop drugs, Chi refused. As a result, Hachiman taught Chi a hard lesson and told him that the drug he developed had been sold with illicit drugs. After this series of events, Chi hated Hachiman to the extreme. He, together with Yupa and Ryan, betrayed Hachiman and sent him to prison. Knowing his past experience well, Yupa and Ryan can't believe that Chi will help Hachiman again. Just as Hachiman attacks them with the hammer, Nico blocks his attack. Feeling furious, Hachiman takes out several poison darts and stabs Nico. Luckily, having a special physique, no matter what poison Hachiman used, Nico won't be harmed at all. Just then, Rokuriki suddenly uses Qigong to attack. Being attacked, Ryan and Nico become very weak. Now, Hachiman is much stronger than them. Fearing that the use of Qigong would affect Nico, Yupa dare not to fight against Hachiman while Hachiman seizes the opportunity to bring down him. Nico wants to stand up for Yupa but is controlled by Hachiman due to the long time of withdrawal from the medicine. Nico is very distressed and gradually loses his mind. As long as he can get medicine to relieve the pain, he can do anything. Therefore, he becomes crazy after smelling the familiar medicinal smell on Hachiman. Realizing that the situation is going out of control, Hachiman hurriedly orders Rokuriki to attack Nico. However, Nico completely loses control and directly stops Rokuriki's attack. He hides in the ceiling and takes the opportunity to bite Hachiman's neck, while Ryan hugs Rokuriki and asks Yupa to use Qigong to burn the talisman on Rokuriki. Just then, Chi suddenly appears from the corner, smelling a similar medicinal smell on him. Nico immediately pounces on him. Chi pulls out the antidote and puts Nico to sleep temporarily. Then he takes the opportunity and injects Hachiman with nerve-paralyzing drugs. Feeling betrayed, Yupa and Ryan ask Chi the reason he takes refuge in Hachiman. Chi apologizes to them and explains that he helps Hachiman because he wants to work as an undercover agent to help Goku stop Enki. He doesn't want to put his friends in danger and chooses to complete the plan alone. Hearing this, Yupa objects to his approach, believing that good friends should fight together. Just then, Hachiman wakes up. The three immediately work together and subdue him. After then, Chi remembers his talk with Goku. Although being a prison guard, Goku trusts his inmates a lot. In return, Chi wants to guard Building 5. Meanwhile, worrying about Nico, Uno wants to return to the ground floor. Hani and Troa stop him. Roads have been blocked and there are countless mechanics inside the prison and they can barely return safely. Persuaded by them, Uno abandons the idea of returning. However, a sudden flood ahead washes them to the next floor. Unfortunately, Jugo is drowned. Therefore, one of them has to give him artificial respiration. In the end, Hani is chosen by finger-guessing game and is forced to perform artificial respiration for Jugo, saving his life. After then, Troa stumbles upon a hidden room storing and used surveillance dolls and gets very excited, since women and machines are the most interesting things in his life. After leaving the room, they meet a prison guard named Ruka who looks very feminine like Mitsuba. Uno scolds him for being a she-male, causing Ruka to be very angry. He releases two guards under control to attack them. Hani hurriedly asks other companions to escape. Hearing Hani's voice, Mitsuba feels very angry, fearing that his inmates will be in danger. He calls Ruka over. He deliberately shows Ruka his smooth skin and says that he has a bottle of luxurious lotion. As long as Ruka uses it, his skin will be as smooth as him. If Ruka sets him free now, he'll also send him a bottle of luxurious sunscreen. Although Ruka is impressed by the rewards, he never betrays Enki. Meanwhile, Uno and his friends are frantically fleeing on the second floor. To stop the prison guards, Troa fires at them with a makeshift bazooka. It turns out that Troa disassembles surveillance dolls in the hidden room and assembles weapons using their parts. Just then, Ruka suddenly comes out of the ground. He captures Jugo and threatens others to explain their purpose in entering the underground prison. Reluctant to talk with him, Troa hits Ruka directly in the head with a flamethrower. Jugo takes the opportunity and escapes with them. After being safe, Hani complains that Jugo is a liability and should be left behind. Hearing this, Jugo feels very guilty. Uno sees that Jugo has something in mind and offers to wait until the day he is willing to tell the truth. Just as Jugo wants to explain, the wall behind him suddenly cracks, and a prison guard rushes out of the smoke and pins him against the wall. Uno tries to save him but is stopped by Ruka. Luckily, Hani suddenly appears and saves them. It turns out that Hani can manipulate the threads. He can not only move objects but also know the location of the prison guards. Using the thread, he brings Uno and Jugo directly to him. Uno then asks him the location of Ruka. Hani points to the ground. Beneath the floor panels is a swimming pool, where Ruka can move the panels and travels as he pleases. Learning of Ruka's location, Troa and Hani team up to capture Ruka and the other two prison guards. However, Ruka is much more powerful than they thought. He escapes from Hani's control and creates a cyclonic blast from his fans to attack them, but Hani manages to create a rocky barrier from his threads. Realizing that the situation is not in their favor, Troa and Hani stay behind, delaying time while Uno and Jugo go on ahead. For Hani and Troa, dealing with Ruka is not an easy task. Just as they are unable to fend off Ruka, Jugo suddenly returns with his wrists modified into two long blades. He directly cuts off Ruka's attack. Feeling furious, Ruka attacks him again. Surprisingly, he finds Jugo is absorbing his attacks. Just then, the two prison guards controlled by Ruka suddenly regain consciousness, but having a terrible impression on Uno. Even if they learn that Enki is escaping from prison, they choose to arrest Uno and his friends. To get rid of the two guards, Hani and Troa attack them and urge Jugo and Uno to leave. Just as they are about to escape, Uno's neck is chained by Ruka with an iron chain. He asks Jugo to go first, leaving him alone to deal with Ruka. Just as he is almost strangled, Troa grabs him by the feet and Hani helps cut the chain. Seeing Ruka's actions, the two prison guards thoroughly believe that Enki intends to escape from prison, but they still decide to capture Uno and his friends. Troa throws a grenade to temporarily stop the prison guards. Because Troa smells Mitsuba's perfume nearby, they decide to save Mitsuba first. Considering that Jugo is not with them to unlock the door, they have to get the key from Ruka. Troa jumps into the water and praises Ruka's beauty. Hearing his compliments, Ruka feels very shy. Troa takes the opportunity to steal the key and passes it through the thread to Hani. Getting the keys, Hani and Uno rush to Mitsuba's cell as soon as possible. However, the two prison guards stop them again. Hani hurriedly throws the key into Mitsuba's cell. Just as the guards are about to arrest Hani, Mitsuba comes out of the cell and teaches the two guards a hard lesson. After then, worrying about Troa's safety, Mitsuba runs to check on him. Suddenly, Ruka jumps out of the pool. Being very loyal to Enki, Ruka is even willing to be a killer for him. Hearing this, Mitsuba slaps him and reminds him not to blindly follow Enki. Meanwhile, Jugo finds Hajime on the 5th floor. Hajime is surprised by his arrival and suspects his purpose. Jugo explains that he arrives here by his willpower. In the past, he chose to escape because he was afraid of being hated by others, but after getting along with his friends, he realizes that he is wrong. Now he wants to start all over again and not make the same mistakes as before. He helps Hajime open the cell door. Just then, they confront a horde of surveillance dolls. Knowing that Hajime is very powerful, Jugo hurriedly uncuffs him. As expected, Hajime knocks out the dolls with just one punch. In the end, Kenshiro goes to Building 5 to check on the situation. Coincidentally, he encounters Enki, who just comes out of the underground prison, as well as Jugo and Hajime, who have just escaped. A very exciting struggle seems to be about to embark on between them. This brings the end of the season. Nanbaka, The Numbers has only aired 2 seasons so far. Since the manga series has not yet ended, the 3rd season has also been in preparation. I love the characters in this anime a lot, even in the darkest prisons. Not all inmates are evildoers. Also, the prison guards who seem to be very righteous are not all good people. My favorite character in this anime is Jugo, who remains his kindness despite the hardships he experienced. Which character do you like best? I look forward to seeing your opinions in the comment area. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video to help my channel out. Also, remember to subscribe to my channel. Your support is what motivates me to keep updating my videos. Bye!